is a song that I really like. That is a song that I really admire. Rwimbo ni toni mundu gwitwo esi wakago na rutire rwa igwika kundu kungi. In actual sense ona ndekuhete rutha rwa kuruthaka. No niĩ na niĩ tondu ndakĩrĩ kũndũ kũnene kũndũ arari, you know, na ndina mawakiri thĩinĩ wa studio ri hakuna penye atanipeleka. That is a beautiful song. So hata kama Charles hajamaliza kutengeneza the video, then ikifika tutakuwa tumekula sisi. Yeah, sisi tutakuwa tumeenjoy. So congratulations Esi Wakago because of that wonderful hymn 101. Now, immigration matters. We started last week and we proceed on this week. And I am happy to have this team in the studio, as you can see. This team in the studio, as you can see. It is a beautiful team and we are going to learn issues. We are going to learn mambo ambayo pengine haujasikia for some time. I want to give everyone an opportunity to say hello to us and introduce yourselves as we begin. Sijui, they say ladies first, and we will just honor that because it is put like that. Okay, karibu sana Attorney Mueni Raburu.
Good evening. My name is Mueni Raburu. I am honored and really happy to be with you here this evening, to be able to serve and answer any questions that I may. I am an attorney with Wanjohi and Mueni Law Firm. Our main office is in Raleigh, North Carolina. However, we do service and represent clients all over the United States, and I am based over in our Washington, D.C. office.
That is very good. Welcome, and we are all set. We are all set to learn. Charles, I know there's a lot. We have been hearing your voice, so let us hear what you have to tell us.
Hello, good evening. My name is Charles Wanjohi. As my colleague, my partner has said, we are the founders and owners of Wanjohi and Mueni Law Firm. This evening, we are honored to have you listening to us. We want just to share the little we know so that this evening we may help someone to navigate the immigration process here a little bit more smooth in this country. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Last week we had a very nice program, and because of the people who may not have had an opportunity to listen, I want you to just a recap of what we discussed last week. So we'll start with you, Charles, and then we end with you, Mueni. Just a recap, just a little bit of what we discussed last week.
Okay, last week, despite having missed the Democratic Convention, we did the best we could to discuss a little bit more how you can get green card in this country. And we said you can get green card through marriage, through asylum, employment, religious visa, which fall under employment. And you also can get it through cancellation or removal. And we also discussed about who can petition for you. That is what is called family immigration. And we said as a U.S. citizen, you can petition for your spouse, your children, your sons or daughters who are unmarried, sons or daughters who are married, your parents and your siblings. For legal permanent resident, we said you can petition for your spouse, children, and married sons and daughters. Mm-hmm. And we also spoke a little bit more about what is required of a married, and my colleague will do that.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
We just went over real briefly and generally about what are the requirements required for marriage-based green card. And the biggest thing and the first thing that you have to look at is the fact that the marriage has to be in good faith, right? It's not just a matter of marriage, but the marriage has to be established to be a good faith marriage. For you to be eligible as well to get a green card in the United States based on marriage, you must have had a legal entry. So not only did you enter legally, you had an immigration officer inspect you However, the inspection get an admission. So we have to get a look at your I-94 and your visa that was gotten from the consulate. Then in addition to that, as far after the petition has been granted, then you have to prove as an immigrant that there is nothing that makes you ineligible, that there's no issue of a criminal history, there's no previously finding of a sham marriage, that you don't have any medical conditions that will make you ineligible, that there's not an issue of a public charge, that you've received Medicare, Medicaid food stamps in the past, that you do have not had a previous removal order that makes you ineligible to adjust in the United States. And of course, one thing that we face a whole lot is there is a finding of having filed a frivolous asylum claim. If you have a frivolous asylum claim, then you're barred from being able to immigrate to the United States, even to the point of being after being married to a U.S. citizen. It's all is not lost. It's not the end of the world. If you're inadmissible, we have things called waivers to overcome each of these inadmissibility areas. The waivers are wide-ranged that can be able to cover, from the issues of fraud, from the issue of criminal history, and that filing of a waiver can be done. And after that is approved, you would be eligible to adjust and apply for the 485. And then, of course, if you had a previous removal order being before an immigration judge, that can also be reopened. Once it is reopened, then you would have the chance to be able to adjust your status and be able to be granted the lawful permanent resident status. So we talked about what are the requirements of a good faith marriage. For it to be considered, quote unquote, a good faith marriage, it has to be valid. For it to be valid, that means you must be free to marry. Unfortunately, we have very many clients who would apply for a visa. When you apply for a visa, you declare that you're married for whatever reason. Maybe you had a traditional marriage. You come to the United States, you've been here 10, 15 years, you forget, you assume that you've been separate for so long that you're no longer married. So if you had had a previous marriage on the record, that means you're not free to marry, and you must have show that marriage has been terminated by the court or by death. In addition to that, we look at your visa application. What are the facts that you put in there as far as family members that you have in the United States? What was your purpose coming to the United States? Did you say that you're going to come to go to school? Did you in fact go to school? Did you in fact finish school? So we're going to look to make sure that your visa application, there was no issue about fraud. I talked about the issue of come we stay marriage. Yes, there is come we stay marriage. It is considered legal in Kenya, and even the United States. There are some states that accept common law marriage, but all those marriages also have a legal way to terminate those marriages. So you must be able to have that. We commonly used to have affidavits of divorce, where you'd have a chief write you a letter, some kind of affidavit where the elders would write and say, hey, this marriage has been terminated. The NVC, the consulate, the Department of State is very specific as to each country what documents are accepted and considered valid as proof of having had the marriage be terminated. Age comes up a whole lot, where one spouse is a 10, 15, 20-year difference. Even though that could be an issue that is looked at, it doesn't make the marriage invalid. People will be concerned, oh my goodness, my husband is 15 years younger than me, and they're concerned by that. But as far as validity of a marriage, age is not an issue. Age is just a number. Mm-hmm. We have an issue now of sexual orientation. Regardless of what your belief is or what the cultural norms are, there is same-sex marriage allowed in the United States, and it's legal. It may not be legal back home in Kenya, it would not be recognized, but it could be recognized here in the United States. So those are the things that are going to be looked at to make a determination of whether or not the marriage is a good faith marriage. So we ended up our session last time talking about the documentation that we should have, and you should definitely have in your petition. We talked about the documents that you should have before you get married, the document that you should have during the time of getting married, the document that you should have accumulated after marriage. All these documents put together is what we take over to the interview and be able to present a good, solid case.
Thank you.
And we talked about some misconceptions that we have about what it is that you can have and cannot have, and we'll dive deeper into that today, into the nitty-gritty of what the documents we should have.
I want to take this opportunity to welcome all our viewers and all our listeners, some of them who are watching us and listening to us through the Captain RTV apps. on the website www.captainrtv.com. The reason and the purpose of this program is to help our Kenyan community, and not only Kenyan people, even others who would want to know exactly what am I supposed to do so that I will be legal in the US and not get in trouble. And there are some people who have sent some questions, and I want to read a few questions here so that we can handle them. So, when I applied for a visitor's visa, I indicated that I don't have a relative in the United States. I am now married, and my sister wants to be my co-sponsor. Will there be any problem?
Okay, as we had said, when you apply for a visa in your country, you fill a certain form known as DS-160. The time you come to the United States and you apply for adjustment of status, there's the USCIS compiles something called alien file. It's an alien file. It's brown in color. If you ever go to USCIS, you see a brown file that has got everything of yours. So in that file, the very first thing at the bottom of it is your DS-160, your application, what you said in Nairobi. So when you apply for adjustment of status and you decide your sister will be the one who will be your co-sponsor, you go for interview. They will look at it and ask you, who is this? And then I'll say, Captain is my brother, or my sister, if it's the other way around. And USCIS will look at the application you made in Nairobi, and they will see you said you don't have a relative in the United States. So all they will say is that you lied. You misrepresented material fact during your visa application. And what they say is that you did that with you are lying so that you heighten your chances of getting that visa. That's why you misrepresented, because you knew if I say I have a sister in the United States, most likely I don't want them to know. Maybe my sister just got married. She's in the process of applying for a green card or something like that. So they will say you want to go there, stay like your sister. So that's why people end up not disclosing. When the USCIS discovers when you apply for a green card that your sister is a co-sponsor, then unfortunately you become inadmissible. And unless you are able to get a waiver, then unfortunately you won't get this green card. And the waiver process is a little bit complicated, but with good guidance from an experienced lawyer who knows you and knows what you are doing, you can get it.
Last week, there's somebody who spoke about a transit visa. Would you please explain more about a transit visa?
The various kinds of transit visa, but just like the English word of it, transit is that for the purpose of passing through. So you'll find that people work in the airlines, people who work in cruise ships, people who are actually traveling to another country and are just stopping over the United States, you may get that something called a transit visa. So if you have a transit visa, you would have an issue of admission and inspection. For you to enter the United States, you must have a valid visa. So my visa is a B1, B2 visa to come and visit. My visa is a religious visa to come in and go preach at a church. So there's a purpose for which you got your visa, for which the immigration officer will examine and admit you based on that visa. But a transit visa will not grant you admission for the purpose of staying. It may grant you just the time to be able to pass through. And usually you'll find that the I-94s will be there very specific for transit only. So at the point of applying for adjustment of status, you would be ineligible to apply for adjustment of status because you have not been inspected and admitted. There are some categories for applying for adjustment of status where you may be allowed to, maybe a U visa, maybe a VAWA. But as far as just the basic 485 marriage application, then you would have an issue to be able to overcome that because you were not admitted and inspected. However, all is not lost. There are the visas that are available too for the transit visas.
Thank you. That question is, I came with a J visa. Can I file for green card?
Yes, you can. First, for the sake of those who may not know exactly what's a J visa, when you come here, there are various categories of visa, and there's one which is exchange visitor or exchange worker. And the exchange visitor or exchange worker, and also an exchange student, there are two categories of it. There is one which has got something called home residency requirement, and there are others without home residency requirement. Home residency requirement means once you come to the United States, you you go ahead, you attend school or you do whatever you are trying to do. Once you achieve the purpose, you finish the study or you finish the course or you finish the work you are doing in this country, you're supposed to go back to your country and you stay there for 2 years before coming back to the United States. So if your visa had that 2-year requirement, you cannot adjust your status until after you go out of the United States and you stay for 2 years. But you can apply for something called J visa waiver. And there are various requirements for it and eligibility criteria, which we can take you through depending on how you came and the visa, the green card category you are trying to apply for. And one of the simplest thing we do, we request the Kenya embassy to grant you something called a no objection letter. And we shall use that, we liaise with the State Department and the USCIS, and you get a J visa waiver. It's upon being granted that J visa waiver that you can go ahead and apply for adjustment of status. If you don't get that waiver, you are not eligible for adjustment of status.
Thank you so much. There's another question here. I am a US citizen. I adopted a child in Kenya some 2 years ago. Can I petition for this child?
I'm going to let Mr. Andre take on this one. Our law firm is actively working with the Kenyan government regarding this issue that comes up a whole lot as far as the adoptions are concerned in Kenya. Mr. Andre is licensed both here and in Kenya, and we are working with the government and the embassy to be able to handle this issue that faces us a whole lot. So I'll let him handle that one.
When you talk of adoption, there are two international categorization of adoption. There is something called Hague Convention on Adoption. Under that Hague Convention, each and every country which is a signatory with it has got laid down procedures which it must follow if one is adopting a child from one member country, taking that child to another country which is also a member country. So in this instance, the United States is a signatory to the Hague Convention. Kenya is a signatory to the Hague Convention. In that situation, it means any adoption between Kenya and the United States. Either way, if you want to come to the United States to adopt, to take that child to Kenya, to immigrate there, you must follow the convention. If it's the other way around, you want to go to Kenya and adopt a child, you have to follow the Hague Convention. And it stipulates the process, which is very rigorous, which you must follow. Now, there is another way you can still deal with the adoption. If you adopt a child legally in that country, whichever the country is, and you stay with that child, you have custody, legal and physical custody of that child for 2 years, at least 2 years. You can petition for that child through the regular I-130 petition. However, when you're a citizen, even if you are from Kenya, you go ahead and adopt in Kenya, you will face one big issue in that you went to Kenya and you are US. Even if you are dual citizen, the USCIS will still say you are still a United States citizen. It's on the virtue of being a United States citizen that you went to adopt. So even if today you go to Kenya, you are able to adopt because you are a Kenyan citizen, it won't help you in that the USCIS will say you circumvented the Hague Convention requirements. And this is happening. One of the big issues we are having is that Kenya placed a moratorium on international adoptions a few years back. I think it was around October 2013. It was extended in October, I think August 2014. And last year in September, they banned international adoption. So right now you can't adopt internationally in Kenya. Now, as Attorney Muli mentioned, the Kenyan government is trying to do the best they can to resume international adoption. However, well, I'm not a government spokesman. I don't know exactly where we are. But there's a big issue there with the adoption laws. Kenya is no longer in favor of international adoption because, as you're aware, there was a lot of human trafficking. And as of now, it's not possible to adopt from Kenya if you are from the United States, if the purpose of adoption is to bring that child into the United States. However, if you are dual citizen, you can still go ahead and adopt in Kenya as a Kenyan citizen, but not for the purpose of immigration. We are trying to work with the Kenya embassy so that when the government will be laying down the policy, they will consider dual citizen. But as of now, no headways.
But if you're in this situation, we are collecting as many people. We do have a whole bunch of people in this situation. So if you're in this situation where you've adopted or interested in adopting, and your information, you're okay speaking up about it. As we work with the Kenyan government and the embassy, and you want to include your name in the petition, get in contact with us. We'll be glad to work with you.
Thank you so much. I have shared the website and the email addresses and also the telephone numbers, so you can be able to see them down on the description of this broadcast in all our medias. That is on the app, also on the website, and also Facebook, YouTube, and also on the Trumpet of Hope page. This is important. The last question, and I have some two others which I will share with you so that you can look at them and then maybe you can answer next week. This one is, I came in the United States 20 years ago using my cousin's passport while I was 11 years old. I am now 31 years old, married to a U.S. citizen, and we have one child. What can I do to get the green card without landing in trouble?
We spoke about that there's very many ways to be able to get the green card, right? You can do the cancellation, you can do the asylum, you can do an employment-based. Assuming this one is discussing basically as to a marriage-based petition based on the fact that she or he's married to a United States citizen. If that is a petition that you're processing, a family-based petition based on marriage, if you came in with somebody else's passport, yes, you're going to have an issue that you were not admitted and you were not inspected. So the issue of you came here as 11 years old, the issue that you came in with someone else's passport, there's a lot of red flags that raise onto that. And I believe that you can qualify for a waiver for fraud based, the fact that you're a minor child. So I believe that there's a way that you can be able to overcome the waiver. So landing in trouble is relative. Is there a solution? Yes. The fact that you've been in the United States 20 years without legal status, this is not the time to sit down and do nothing about it, right? Do not live in fear of the unknown. Step out and be able to get some assistance. I don't think all the facts are out there, but just straight out jumps at me that you're 11 years old, you're a minor child, then you can be able to get a waiver for fraud for that.
Thank you so much. Finally, this one, I don't know whether you'll answer them now, but I have two questions that you can maybe write and put them forward for next week. The first one is, are you people helping those people who are nurses to get a green card, or rather to get any work authorization? That is the first one. The other one is, what is the postmarked date of a document sent to e.g. USCIS? Those two questions. And the final one is, tomorrow, August 25, a lot of changes take effect on work authorization changes, filing Form I-765. So those three issues, I don't know, maybe you can put them down or you can just mention as we get to the issues of the day.
If you don't mind, Captain, since I see we don't have so much time and these are very weighty issues, can we deal with them the first thing in our next session?
Thank you so much. I will share them to you on your email so that we will not forget. So Thank you so much. I want to welcome our viewers wherever you are and our listeners who are listening to us through the app, the Captain RTV app. If you have not downloaded that app, please do so because it helps you, especially when you are at work and you want to listen to our programs. You're driving, you want to listen and you don't want to interfere with your driving, then it is a beautiful app. You can just join it together with your, connect it with your Bluetooth automatically. It has a very special mode. Right, let's talk about documenting good faith marriage. I'm really interested on this statement, on this word, good faith. That means high chances there are some things that are bad faith marriage, so you better be careful. What documents are important to support my good faith marriage?
So documents, the biggest thing is that volume is key. You cannot have too many documents. Not having enough documents absolutely is a problem. The last time we spoke about that marriage takes many forms and looks very different for different people. So as far as the documentation are concerned, my documentations in my marriage would be different than your documentations in your marriage. But the goal and the underlying purpose remains the same. We're looking to be able to prove 4 things. We're looking to prove, number 1, that you have a shared residence. We're looking, number 2, to prove that you have an intermingling of your resources. Number 3, we're looking to show that you have shared liabilities. And number 4, we're looking to show that you present yourself in the public and in private as a married couple. So how does that look in your relationship is not standard, but at the end of the day, the goal remains the same. We talked about the last time about marriage. People are concerned that my marriage was only at the courthouse or at the jailhouse, although not too many people are at my wedding. A wedding is a wedding. What is the underlying goal? That we got married because we love each other. Let's talk about shared residence. What about your house? Do you own your house? If you own your house, you have a title. If you got your title after marriage, and you're actually in a good faith marriage, then your title will have both names. What if you do not own? What if you lease your property? Then if you have a lease, then the lease should show that both of you live and own that leasehold. And if there's many reasons why you cannot get on the lease, be it a criminal history, be it a credit history, be a lack of social security number, be a lack of proof of legal residence, then they'll always will be able to allow you to be listed as a tenant or an authorized tenant or authorized person living in the home. So to be able to find something that proves that that lease belongs to you. What if you are in a roommate situation whereby the lease is owned by somebody else and they're just renting out a room to you and your spouse? Then that person can write a letter and say, hey, they live with us in our room and they pay X amount of dollars. There's got to be something that shows that whatever it is that we call our abode, that both of you live there. What if you're in a live-in situation and so you're only coming home over the weekends? Where does your spouse stay during that time? Do you consider that your actual home, regardless of the fact that you're going 2 weeks at a time, going a month at a time? What do you consider your primary residence? To the last time too as well, someone that lives in Seattle, another person lives in California. So those are 2 different homes. But what do we consider our primary residence and how can we be able to prove that? What documentation can we have that you consider my apartment in Seattle and your apartment in California to be both our homes? So what documentation can we have to prove that? Your driver's license or your identity card, they all have an address on it. If you received your ID or received your driver's license after the date of marriage, then you are required by the local government to change your address. So we want to make sure that your ID and your driver's license, if you're eligible to receive one, shows the same marital residence. If you're not eligible to receive one, then as soon as you get your documentation, which will likely be before you go to the interview, make sure you change your documentation to reflect the fact that you live in one home. And these are things that can be done very easily online, and change your address and get your new driver's license, or some states would maybe just give you a sticker and put the sticker at the back of your driver's license. But whenever you're pulled over or whenever you're going to the USCIS, the first thing that they ask for is, can we get a copy of your ID? So we want to make sure that the ID shows that you both live at that home. And then we can talk about mail. What mail do you receive at home? Whose name is on that mail? And I'm talking about anything from coupons from Lowe's. I'm talking about any kind of junk mail. I'm talking about, is it your bank statements, any documentation from work, letters from the doctor, any kind of mail that comes into your home whose names are on there. So mail will determine the person that lives there. If you're in an apartment complex, they're very specific as to are they going to be able to drop off your name other than you if you're listed on the mailbox as a person eligible to receive mail there. So being able to receive mail at a place would prove that both of you live there. So don't discard off mail, even though it doesn't have both names on it. Bring the mail that has my name on it. You bring the mail that has your name on it. We can present that to prove that we're both living at the same residence. Tickets. If you get a ticket, what do you tell the police officer your residence is, right? And this is all public information that an immigration officer can pull up. So if you can pull up and you got a ticket and you claim to live somewhere else, why should I believe that this is really your home? And we have the issue of people say, hey, I'm using my mom's address. I've always used this specific address. That does not work for immigration purposes, right? Those are the red flags that will be an issue. So let's resolve those issues while we still can. People have criminal histories. People are on probation. What address does your probation officer have? If your spouse is a resident, is put on probation and has an address different than your actual residential address, that is going to be a problem. So things may not mean much to you, but at the totality of circumstances, they're actually very important. You're buying something from Rooms to Go, whatever furniture place that you're buying, and then you choose to give your sister's address or the old address you lived as. Absolutely not. All this stuff is trackable, right? So maybe we can pull up a credit report and we can show that as recent as last month, you are using a different address. That's going to be problematic. If you got married and you are living at one house and that's where your doctor sends your mail and you choose not to change your address to your doctor once you get married, that's going to be problematic. So mail may seem like a very trivial issue, but actually very important because mail is important to you. If you receive the mail, why does it not show where you actually live? And the fact that mail half the time is all online, right? So what are you losing by doing the right thing? They're not actually bringing physical things to you. A lot of this stuff is online. So because they are online, do the work, do the due diligence and change your actual address. Go to the post office, fill in the form, or you can pay on, I think, $1 online. You can do it online and change your address to reflect your actual living address. Where you live is actually very, very important, and being honest and truthful about it is also very important. Things that are public information like an eviction notice, right? If I can pull up this specific address, I can see who has been evicted from that home. So are you claiming that to be your home? And yes, the record shows something different, right? If you're homeless, there's ways to be able to show that. And we've had people who are using the address as a shelter because that's where they are at that particular time. So it's easier and better to be honest and truthful about where you're living as opposed to using a false address that can easily be pulled up. We've had cases where people are choosing to use like a UPS, where UPS would have a physical address. You're thinking, oh, let's go ahead and use a UPS and give that a residential address. And USCIS will send you a denial letter with an actual picture of the UPS facility and say, hey, look what we found as your house. So let's not do some stuff that we know are going to be an issue. And you may think the fact that, hey, my husband is a trucker and we really don't have a home. We live on the road and we come on weekends and we stay at the Motel 6. So let's be honest about that. Let's see how to be able to use Motel 6 as your address, as opposed to lying that you live at a different address and the records show that you were evicted from that. So shared residence is really important. And again, the excuse that I don't have a social security number, have no driver's license, have no credit history, should not be used to show why you do not have proof of it. There's ways, secondary ways and tertiary ways to be able to show that actually I live at this place. Affidavits of support, letters from your neighbors, pictures. There's so many things that we can be able to use that actually I'm at this home. Even though my name is not on the lease, guess what? I get mail at that place. Even though my name is on the lease, hey, here's some pictures we took at Thanksgiving at the clubhouse of our apartment complex. So there's ways to be able to show that, and there should be no situation whatsoever where you cannot be able to prove the home that you actually live at with your spouse. And again, it doesn't have to be a house that we bought, a lease where our names is on. Whatever your situation is, we can be able and should be able to show what evidence it is that you share the actual residence together.
Thank you so much. We are talking to Charles Wanjohi and Mueni Raburu, and this is interesting discussion. It is interesting. I know there are so many people who are asking questions, and we are going to answer these questions as we continue. Think about those things that the attorney just mentioned, and these are important things because we are talking about your life here. What should I do? If okay, what should one do if he or she cannot get into a lease because of maybe lack of a driver's license, social security numbers, the credit history, or maybe criminal background?
Okay, this is a common thing which happens as Tony Mueni has mentioned. You need to have proof of shared residency. The practical aspect is when you come here, you don't have social security. Most of the time, the ID or driver license has expired. Most of the time, even you find your passport is also not valid, and a lot of apartments they decline to give you to allow you to get into any lease because of that. So the idea is you need to document to the USCIS because they know you live somewhere. And by you just going to explain to them, I tell them that I tried to apply for a lease and I was not granted, and that's why my name is not in the list. They don't take that. So what we normally advise our clients is go ahead and apply for a lease. Once, if normally when you go to apply for a lease somewhere, you ask for ID, they tell you, you say you don't have ID, they tell you we can't give you, and that's it. People walk out and they go away. Don't do that. Even if they can't allow you, they are not going to give you any lease or something like that. Still go ahead and apply for that lease. Get that letter which will be saying we have declined to offer you tenancy in our place because you don't have social security or you have criminal record. For whatever reason they are declining, just keep those letters. And if you can, go to more than 3 apartment places, apply, make 3 or 4 applications, keep them. Once you have them, you go for interview, be asked, do you have a joint lease? You'll be able to explain, no, I'm not in the list because we tried to apply in 3 different places and they could not grant us any lease. That's why in the 4th one, when we went, we decided my name will not be there. Otherwise, we would still not get any lease in that place. So that is how you deal with that. But despite that, a lot of apartments will allow you to stay as a permitted occupant. Try to get your name into that list if it's possible. If it's not possible, then get a letter saying you're not allowed. Then, of course, all those lease application documents, keep them. You keep them because they'll be showing. Most places, as you apply for a lease, you say the relationship between you and co-applicant. It'll clearly show the spouse. So keep it, and the response from the lease office, also keep it. That one combined will help you have an explanation which the USCIS will accept for lack of lease.
Thank you. As we continue, if you have a question, remember you can send the questions to us so that we can prepare to answer them. And this is a program that will be continuous for the next maybe 3 or 4 Mondays. There are so many issues to discuss when it comes to immigration. Let us handle the issue of intermingled resources, the issues of joint bank account, the issues of life insurance, the issues of joint car titles, these things. Let's get some information on this.
So I think you've broken it down as far as to what resources we're looking at, and again, what is a resource to me could be different than a resource to you. We have to be careful, especially in this modern world, where people are very independent, where my money is my money and your money is your money. But for immigration purposes, whether or not you share your resources is looked at very keenly, because that goes as to the intent of getting married. What is your purpose of getting married? And was this purpose to be able to last for a long time, or is it meant to be for a very secondary time? So if you have a bank account, then you should be able to both go and get a joint bank account. Again, yes, I understand you're used to doing your finances the way you did it before you got married, and so does your spouse. However, now that you're married, let's put those together. You can choose to keep your separate accounts, and choose to put and open up a new bank account, but I encourage each of you to put money in there, and there needs to be evidence of each spouse putting money in there, and the expenses of this should be able to go towards household expenses, be it utilities, be it the rent, the mortgage, but it should show that money is going out for that purpose, but money is coming in. So presenting a bank account with no activity is useless. So you present a bank account that you put in $25, still has $25, presenting an account that's in the negative, that does not fulfill the purpose. The purpose of it is that both of us have money, both of us are spending money, and the purpose of it is for family situations. So we encourage each of you to get a debit card and each of you to use it to be able to show that both of you are using it for the same purposes. The situation like we talked about where you're living in two different states or two different cities, that would be something really critical to show that, let's say, for example, I come home every weekend, so it would show where your gas is being used in Seattle and the other weekend is being used in California. So things like that would look into them to be able to show that really you are sharing a life together, that there's no secret between the two of you of when money is coming in and where money is going out. That's not only one person who's 100% responsible for all bills. Even if the person at one spouse is working and the other is not, they eat, they live, there's got to be a way that they bring money into the household, and this bank account will be able to show that. So want to use a joint banking account, but it has to be absolutely active and active by both parties. Life insurance, I'm glad that as a community, we're really getting more into realizing that the need of it. Of course, death is a taboo topic. We don't want to talk about it. We're thinking that, hey, if I take life insurance, that means I'm going to die, I'm planning for my death. No, if you are making that responsible choice to get life insurance and you're able to show that your spouse is a beneficiary of it, it could be your spouse and your children, your spouse and your parents, but definitely your spouse is listed as a beneficiary on your life insurance. That is showing the fact that, hey, I love my spouse so much that I'm concerned about their well-being and their upkeep even when I am not here. And life insurance doesn't have to be expensive. You can get a $5,000 policy, a $10,000 policies where you're only paying $5 a month, $1 a month, but definitely get something to show the fact that, hey, I care so much about my spouse that even after my death, I'm making plans for them. So we ask that each spouse gets a life insurance for the benefit of the other spouse. And again, there's no harm if you also include additional beneficiaries, be it your parents, be it your spouse, or whoever you want to choose to be able to do that. And many people do get denied for life insurance, or people are afraid to apply for life insurance because, hey, I don't have a social, I don't have any history in the United States. Still go ahead and apply. Even that denial notice will show the fact that, hey, at least I had the intent to be able to do it. I took the steps to be able to do it, even though I was denied. And again, this is among the stuff that you'll use as documentary evidence of your intent of this relationship. So approved or not, definitely get the life insurance and make sure that you list your spouse as a beneficiary on the life insurance. And it's also good to have equal policies. Don't have one with an extreme amount, another person with a very little amount. Again, that will look suspicious. So try to have the policies in the same amount level as well. If you own a car and you have paid for it, it's beneficial to be able to put both parties in the title of the car. This is something very easy. Just go to a DMV and put a signature on it if both of you have a driver's license. So if you're able to do that, that would show the fact that, hey, listen, we actually share a car. We actually vested in this relationship. That's the biggest thing that officers will tell you. I'm just looking to see that you're not in here for a quick thing, get a green card and you're off to go. And the officers will say, hey, it's our purpose here to protect our US citizens. They're not taken advantage of by these immigrants. It's very unfortunate that the word out there and the experience has been these sham marriages. So when you have a good faith, legitimate marriage, it's really scrutinized and looked down upon. But something as simple as your $2,000 car, get both names on it, right? Why are you afraid of doing that and you're married? Our purpose is to live together, and for this to be permanent, go to DMV and get both your names on it. Your car insurance, it could be a liability, but it's also an asset. So if we both have a car, let's get the car insurance in both our names, right? Again, you're willing to go into the extent to be able to assist your spouse and do things together. So what is a resource that you have? You're going to rent some property at rent-a center, you're buying tickets, you're buying some kind of membership. These are things that are important to you. So you want to make sure that your spouse is listed on this thing. If you have any kind of benefits at work, you have a 401k, you have an IRA. And again, don't be limited by the fact that I have to put my spouse 100%. Absolutely not. It can be your spouse and all your siblings, but make sure your spouse is listed out there, because you're holding yourself out as being married and your resources are important to you. So if they're important to you, you would have, and you're actually in a good faith relationship, you'd have no issue sharing this stuff with your spouse.
That is very deep. Thank you so much. We are learning a lot, and I hope that you, wherever you are also learning a lot together with us. Is legal experts. These are attorneys practicing here in the U.S. And as you heard from Mueni Raburu, is that Charles is authorized and licensed even to practice in Kenya. So you don't have to get worried. And the advantage that we have is that we can be able to reach these people. If you cannot be able to understand the English language, they can understand the Swahili, and you can even speak in Kikamba or Gikuyu, and they'll be able to guide you. You cannot say that you didn't get the information. I'm telling you this because it is important. If you have any question, you can continue to send your questions in, and we'll be able to answer our questions. I know there is a lot being talked about the authorization card. I have quite a number of questions. So Charles, be sure that before you wind up, you mention something about that. But for now, let's talk about this issue of the joint checking account, and why should one be careful with the joint checking account?
When you submit any document to USCIS, you have to know the purpose. And joint checking account, you want to show that you intermingle your resources. I get my $200, my wife gets my $200, we put it together and we spend it as a couple. Now, several things happens, and well, from where we are, it's so difficult for couples to have joint accounts. I don't know the reason behind that. And if they have, then it's so minimal activities will take place in that account. Therefore, when you have a joint checking account and you take the statement to the interview, a USCIS officer will first review it. They will look at it and they will see the trend. There are so many things which a simple bank statement can tell about your lifestyle and who you are and your relationship. So first thing they will want to know is money coming in. You have said you don't work, or your husband does not work. And there are so many transactions, a lot of transfers coming into that account. And those transfers are being seen to come from one particular account. So the officer will be interested with knowing where is this money coming from, and who owns this account which has been transferring money here. Now they will see it's me. Yet I said I don't work, I don't have social, I don't, all those explanations. Yet I have a bank account somewhere and I'm transferring this amount of money every month. That one they look at money coming in. Are both spouses bringing money into that account? Or is it just a joint account just by the name? It's only one spouse who is bringing in. That's the first thing they look at, the transactions coming into that account. Again, money going out. Unfortunately, I have never understood. I'm yet to find someone who can explain to me why people do this. You put money in an account, you put $500 in an account, and within the next 1 week, all that money has been withdrawn or it has been transferred to another account. And you are busy telling a USCIS officer that that account is very active. That's not being active. The money which goes in there should be spent by the family, especially for your day-to-day usages. If you buy gas, if you do grocery shopping, all that, that's the account we should show that. That's what should happen. So money going out, please, that withdrawal always is a red flag. You have deposited $1,000. Every month you deposit $1,000 and there's a withdrawal of $500. 2 days after you deposit. Even if I'm the officer, I suspect that maybe something is happening because a lot of people have been caught in sham marriages. So when the officer looks at your bank statement, their job is very simple. You send this document, you go for interview for the officer to determine one thing. Is this marriage real or it's fake? And that's where they are being paid by the US taxpayers, and also the money you pay. Their job is just to determine whether this marriage is genuine. So they will look into those details. And unfortunately, if it's only money being deposited and withdrawn, that one will work against you. That's a huge red flag, and anything can happen out of that. It's the other thing they look at is the details. You have taken your bank statement, which is a joint account, and it's very active. It's okay. That's very nice. That's what we want. We want it to be very active. However, they'll be asking, since you are taking it there as a joint account, it means both parties should know what is going on with that account. Now you'll go there, you find a gentleman is being asked or a lady is being asked, how much is in your joint account? This fellow has got no idea. This lady has got no idea. Well, it might be understandable. Maybe my husband does all the shopping. He's the only one who is working. You can give all those explanations, which maybe that's how your situation is. But to your USCIS officer, they're not going to buy that. And immediately your case will, they'll put a red flag on your case, and it'll take long before you get an approval. I know all the people who are listening to us can never engage in fake marriage. So even if their case is red flagged, eventually they will get it. So I'm not worried about that. My biggest worry is your case being red flagged, and then it takes a little bit longer because it can take 3 or 4 more years before you get an approval. So just take care of such small things.
Beautiful.
You'll see somebody is being asked, I see a withdrawal or a deposit of $500 cash. Who did that? You're not even aware. Well, if I have a joint account with my wife, I may not know exactly how much goes in, how much is put there, and how much is spent. But for $500, 1,000 being deposited, I need to have some details, or being withdrawn, I need to have some details. So if you go such a substantial amount, it's so significant an amount for you not to know details about it. The other thing is about the transactions which take place in that account. They want to see what kind of transactions. If you are married, one of the monthly subscription which is there is for singlesmeet.com. Surely you won't tell somebody you are married yet you have a monthly subscription of $59 with singlesmeet.com. So you have also to be very particular with the transactions which are taking place in your account. The other thing they look at in that account kind of transaction, maybe you say, I live in this area, in this city, and we use our account to pay for electricity bill. Yet, the provider of electricity for that city is not what is in those accounts. Maybe I live in a city whereby we are being served by Duke Energy, but your bank statement is showing that the provider who you pay is maybe Progressive Energy. These officers are so much trained, and they will look at such small details which you might have ignored. So if you have a friend who you always pay for the electricity every month, or cable or something every month, please don't use that account, because it will just raise a red flag. You just telling me Captain is so nice a man that I have decided I'll be paying his cable in Houston every month. An officer will be concerned about that. And then I think Mueni had mentioned about where is that your money being spent. I won't be saying I live in North Carolina with my wife, yet all the transactions are in the state of Maine. Something is not adding up. And finally, I've had situations. It's a real life situation whereby I took a couple for interview, and they had a very active checking account, and they had their bank statement. The officer just did one thing. Yes, do you have your debit card? Both give their debit card. The officer turned and looked at the back of that debit card. She looked at them and she saw their transactions. Luckily, that's all she looked at, and that case was approved. And she explained, she said, as she was telling us, the couple which was right here before you, they also had a debit card. However, one debit card was so new, it has not been even a single transaction, because a debit card, once you swipe several times, it gets some scratches at the back. That's what the officer was looking at, and she was so happy that that account had those debit cards. So when you are taking a bank statement or any other document you are taking to USCIS, you have to review it properly with your spouse. I know it happens that I'm the one who pays all electricity bill, I'm the one who pays all the house bill, or my wife is the one who pays because she's more efficient than me. That me, I don't know what is in that statement. Please always look at it. Be sure of the content, because the same bank statement, the same bill you are taking to USCIS can be used against you if you don't know the details, and that would be so bad, your case being delayed for long.
Awesome. This is interesting and very informative. Thank you. I'll be reading some comments as we complete this program. I know there is another convention that is going on. I know.
Okay. We okay with that?
I didn't say anything. Okay, let's talk about shared liabilities, because we pay these bills, we pay these bills. Let's talk about the importance of shared liabilities in the whole of this process.
So liabilities like resources will also be, your resources will look different than mine. Liabilities will look different than mine. But at the end of the day, we're all looking at the same thing. Do we have some kind of expenses that can be able to prove that we live together? So again, every housing situation is different. If you have a mortgage, then we would show that the payment is coming from both of us. If we have a rent, then that would show that's coming from both of us. If you're living with somebody and we make payment by cash up, it would show that we are making the payments on it, that both of us are responsible for that. If we pay for a place 6 months at a time, it's coming from both of us, that would show. So where you live, not only do you both own it, then both of you also are paying towards it. The place that you live, do you have any utilities? Are we talking about gas? We're talking about electric, we're talking about water, we're talking about internet, we're talking about telephone. Any kind of liabilities that you have, is only one person carrying the burden or both people carrying the burden for it? And if that is the case, how can we be able to prove that? You'll find that most utility companies will say that, no, we cannot put both names on it. The names cannot fit. Then you would ask, hey, can you put them as an authorized user? If they're authorized users, then you can be able to go to the profile and print out the profile and show that, hey, at the end of the day, both parties are authorized on this account, even though the bill is only printed as one person. I would tell people all the time, hey, let's pull up your checking account. What bills do you have? Do you pay for a gym? Do you pay for car insurance? Do you pay for Costco and BJ's? Do you pay for daycare? What expenses do you have on a monthly basis that we can be able to add your spouse onto? And again, we're not looking to create things. What is it that you already have? Now we are married. How can we be able to merge those two together to prove that we are here to build each other up, share our stuff that we have together, at the same time also be able to share our liabilities? So whatever it is that you already have, you want to be able to add your spouse onto it. If you have any kind of magazine subscription that you receive, any kind of memberships that you have whatsoever, have you put out there that, hey, I'm married, can I get an extra card for my spouse? If you have a credit card, I'm not asking for your spouse to also apply for a credit card, but you can ask for an additional credit card. So the credit card will only be one account, but would have two authorized users. So we'll be able to print out the credit card statement and show that both parties have an actual card, and the card has to be active. The same way we spoke about the checking account, be very careful with these credit accounts. We don't want to see a credit card that's paying for christianmingle.com, but hey, you've been married the past 3 years. So if you're going to present any of this evidence, go through it, scrutinize it, make sure whatever is in it is caution that you want to present that to the immigration officer and you have no issues with them being aware of what is on your statements. So anything that you have, you want to make that phone call. Can I add my spouse? That will tell you, no, there's gotta be a way. Because I'm married, that I want my husband to be able to call at any time. If you are getting hospital bills, maybe you can put it, for me, this is my address, care of my spouse. So when the letter comes in the mail, it has both names on it. If you're doing taxes for your car, property taxes, taxes at the end of the year, anything that you have that can be able to have you and your spouse's name on it. Health insurance, are you paying for health insurance out of pocket, not through an employer? How are you paying for that? And are both names appearing on it? So I always tell people all the time, pull out your wallet, let's pull up your bank account statements, let's see what expenses you have on a monthly basis, and let's combine those with your spouse and put them in there. And again, volume is key. And one thing that we normally do, as unfortunately as immigrants, is compare situations. Facts will never be the same. I know we are all going through a marriage-based petition, but just because you know somebody who went in with nothing and was successful, don't count on that luck. You know what is required of you to do, go ahead and do it. And like we've said, none of this stuff is difficult. This is stuff that you already have. I'm not asking you to go there and bend over backwards to get any of these documentations. It's stuff that you already have and you can be able to get it. And again, the bottom line, do you have the intent to live together and share your life? If you plan to share your life, then you pay for cable, I pay for the cell phone. And that's what immigration is looking at. How can you be able to document any of this stuff? And that's why it's very critical to be able, and all that we've spoken about, if you're able to get good representation, for you to know that even before we file, let's go ahead and request your entire A file so we can know what's in your history. Let's talk about your living situation. Is it going to change in the next month? Is it better to file now or better to file later? What it is that you have right now is a truck up. What you have now is being homeless. How can we be able to use that? So take the steps to be informed ahead of time. So when you file your case and go to an interview, you're well prepared for it. So there should never be a situation whereby, listen, I have no expenses. You're in this country, you pay some money for something. How can we go about showing that that expense is taken care of, or your intent is to take care of it together with your spouse?
That is very good. Thank you so much because of all the information. And we will get to the last question that we had in store for tonight. But before we conclude, I know there are some other questions that we'll be able to post for next Monday's program. And I want you to talk about presenting this petitioner as a couple for the interviews. Let's talk about the things that are required and how they are going to prove that for real this is a good faith marriage.
Yes. Just before I talk about presenting yourself as a couple, just want to add a little bit more about joint utility bills. Utility bills, just like checking account, are also very critical when you get to the stage of interview. It just happens, and ladies, if you are listening to this, please know how much is your electricity bill. You will taking bill to that office and you ask how much, because the officer will want to know, since this bill has got both names, how much do you normally pay in your house? You will hear somebody saying it's $50, but that house has considered been paying $100, $200 or something like that. So if you are taking any utility bill, be it power, you have to know. You don't have to know to the very last dollar, but you should have an idea of how much you normally pay per month. The other thing is internet. You're taking an internet bill or something like that. Mm-hmm. Please know the details of the provider. If it's AT&T, if it's Comcast, if it's Spectrum, at least you should have the basic information that we get internet from this provider. When you get the same thing with the TV and all that, please ensure you know it. Same thing with telephone. Please also ensure you know it. Don't be with like you are with T-Mobile, your wife is with AT&T, and you have no good reason why you both have different ones. Ensure you put it together. And finally, as you look at them, Ensure that all your utility bills are paid from your joint account. Even if you have a separate payment arrangement, please ensure they come from your joint account. Now, to present yourself as a couple, it just happens that you have all these documents. I can have these documents. I can be living in Seattle, Washington, and my wife lives in New York, but you are able to get all the other documents we have mentioned above. Nothing can stop us from doing that. That's not enough. The USCIS will tell you, okay, you have these to prove that you share your liabilities, you share your lease, you share your resources and all that. That's very good. But what you have to show us that you live together, that you've been together. The first thing they look at is how you present yourself to the most important department in this country, IRS. There's always issues of money when it comes to tax filing. Some people believe you file as head of household, I'm going to make more money, so I decide to file like that. There's all that disagreement which comes with some couples when you get to the issue of filing taxes. So they want to see you filing your taxes jointly. Because the big thing with USCIS is you can't be telling one arm of the government that you are single or you are head of household, and then you tell the other one that you are married. You can't do that. Just ensure you do it married. Talk to your accountant, and the accountant will tell you the best way to do it is married filing jointly. There are so many things which stops couples from filing jointly. Maybe somebody owes something like that. I know I've heard from accountants, I've heard from my clients, there's something called innocent spouse or something like that, which I cannot talk about it because I don't know much about tax.
Injured spouse, not innocent
Injured
spouse.
Thank you. As a proof, I don't know much about tax. So talk to your accountant, talk to your CPA, explain to them that you want to file taxes as married couple. You want to file jointly, and they will tell you how to go about it. The other thing is about pictures. Pictures cannot lie. If you say you always go to church with your husband, at least there should be some few random pictures you took the day you went to church early, and while you're seated in those pews, you took some few pictures. Take them. And when we get to pictures, a lot of funny things happen. You will find couples, you'll find people sending some pictures to us or to USCIS. They are in a bed somewhere. They are, of course, they are only half naked. The top you can see the guy is on a vest or wherever. But in your bedroom, for heaven's sake, who takes pictures in a bedroom? And you are showing it somebody else who came to your bedroom to take you a picture. It doesn't happen. So the pictures you take, we advise people get pictures, most of them outside with a lot of people. Show that you are attending events together, because if we are attending a cookout and I'm with this lady here, then there must be a certain way I'm introducing her to all these people. And definitely I'm introducing her as my girlfriend or whomever, my wife. So pictures talk a lot. Let them be in the natural environment with as many people as possible, and not stage managed. Those stage managed pictures, they don't work best. You have to get the right kind of pictures. Then, of course, in your workplace, your emergency contact. You can't be saying you live in Boston, yet your emergency contact is your mother who lives in North Carolina. It can't work. So emergency contact at your workplace, and the day you are going for interview or before interview, go get a letter from your HR department, which will be showing who is listed as your emergency contact. Mm-hmm. It helps a lot. And military records, if one of the spouse in the military, it's always very important that you enlist the other one as you are required. I think by military, I hear that, I don't know much about it. As you are required, ensure that you have some records which are showing that you have notified the military that so and so is my wife. And also school details. If either of the couple has school-going children, of course, it's very important to show that either couple is allowed to pick those children and they are listed as stepdad or stepfather, something like that. So ensure you do it properly. have those records. Go to school records, retrieve them. The school will already give you, and you'll be showing that even wherever my children go to elementary school, my wife is known, even if she's not the real mother, she's just a stepmother. So those are the things the USCIS will look at, and if you are successful in getting those, you'll be able to get this green card. As Mueni mentioned, that the more the merrier. You need to have a lot of documents, because what normally happens, and I see it normally with the 751, that is, you go for interview, the first interview, and the officer will just ask you some few questions. He'll not be so much keen to look at your documents, and you get an approval, and you think that's how it is. So when you get the time of you removing conditions, or rather when you are renewing, so-called renewing your 2-year green card, so when you get your 10-year green card, that's where problem arises. You don't have evidence. The only picture you have is the one you went with for the interview. And the explanation you have is, my husband doesn't like picture, or I don't like picture. Nobody will take that. Bills, you don't have them. Bank account, the statement you are showing us after interview, for some reasons you stopped sharing your resources. That is very dangerous, because at that point of 751, that is where you are removing your conditions. You said all evidence to USCIS. You don't get a chance of explaining why you don't have this or that. And the officer, if they just see it's a small batch, they will deny you. They will deny you. Of course, there is a process of denial. They won't just outright deny you. They'll take you through the process of requesting for more evidence, subjecting you to more interview. And it's so bad, you get 2-year green card, you get Social Security, you are able to work, yet you are unable to document your marriage. Please don't do that. And the other people, what they do, they make a mistake of failing to keep their records. So at the point where you are filing 751, you are only sending the most recent bank statement, the most recent utility bills. So you'll send like a package of 20 pages, yet you have like 2-year package, but you have not kept them. So if you're married, keep each and every bill, each and every statement, each and every correspondence, anything which can support your marriage for those number of years.
Wow. That's a very deep. There are a few questions, and I know that we'll be able to document this so that we can answer what we can right now, and what we cannot, we'll be able to handle that. There are people who are asking about the contacts. I had posted the numbers, but I want you to just announce the numbers that are it's easy to get, for you to be reached, for people who want to, get some questions answered.
The best way to reach us is through our office number, which is 919-578-3691. And we also have another toll-free number, which is 855 Wakilis. 855 WAKILIS Wakilis. You can reach us through those numbers.
Very good. Let me just read a few comments on what we have just said. We have a few minutes. Already it's past time. I know you people are in the East Coast, but some Pacific people are here, and just a few questions. Okay, ask the attorney what is the difference between I-864 and I-944, and if they are required. I don't know what's that.
When you are filing for green card, you have to prove that you will not become a public charge when you come here. So your spouse who is petitioning for you must complete I-864. It's called it's affidavit of support. And what your spouse is telling USCIS that I assure you, if you allow my husband to remain in the United States permanently, he will not come back to you to ask for food, to ask for housing, to ask for medical care. So 864 is affidavit of support, which is filed by everyone who is applying for adjustment of status, apart from some few exemptions like asylum or VAWA. And the purpose of it is to prove that your spouse will take good care of you, or rather the petitioner will take good care of you in case you are given permanent residency. And they will, while filing that 864, they will look at your income, what the petitioner had. The I-944 is a declaration of self-support. We have a lot of issues with President Trump. He does not want, I'll put it this way, he does not want broke people to come into this country. He only wants people who are able to make money in this country to come in. So that affidavit of a declaration of self-support, you are trying to prove the person now who is applying for adjustment of status is the one who is filing that, trying to tell USCIS, if you allow me to remain to become a permanent resident, I have enough education, I have enough training, and I have a lot of money in my bank account, I have a lot of stocks, I have a lot of houses, I have all these. I own this and my wife owns all this. In case you allow me to come here, if I don't get a job, we shall just take one plot, we shall just sell this, we shall sell that. I will not come back and ask you to give us free stuff. So that's the whole difference. 864 is filed by petitioner. I-944 is filed by the party who is applying for adjustment of status. And both are required if you are using marriage or family-based adjustment of status process.
Thank you so much.
To step in and just give a quick disclaimer that, we are attorneys, you are in need of legal help. And us telling this, we don't have enough facts about your specific case to put us into an attorney-client relationship. So do not take this it is solid legal advice, but do not take this to be the only information you need to be successful in the filing of your application. I tell people all the time that lawyer Google is not your friend, right? And 864 and 944, this document can be denied. It can cost you your $1,760, can cost you to be put into removal proceedings. A consultation with an immigration attorney can be able to resolve these questions that you have. All that Mr. Wanjohi has said is the definition of these forms, but they're very critical onto how at the end of the day you become a US citizen. Remember that this is just the first step in your immigration journey. You may have to go back again for a 10-year green card. You may have to go back again for an interview for removal of conditions. You may have to go again to naturalize. So the problem that we have as a community is the fact, again, who lawyer Google doing all this stuff for us, or that your sister, your cousin, your friend who only did this and was able to do it. The reality of it, we're from Kenya, we are pretty smart people, we can read English. All these forms have instructions. But I'll tell you something very frustrating that comes to us is that cases that were not difficult to begin with, but people make mistake after mistake after mistake, become such a big issue. Somebody's in removal proceedings, and all that could have been resolved if you were able to meet up with an attorney and get proper legal advice and know exactly what it is that you're doing. There are a lot of lawyers. There are so many lawyers that you can go to reach out to. If finances is an issue, our law firm does a lot of pro bono work with people like Legal Aid, with Catholic Charities. Reach out to these people and get directed to lawyers who can be able to offer you some advice. But we always make that excuse of, I can do this, I know somebody who did this. We talked about this lady who has been here for 20 years without legal status, right? This issue could have been resolved if you can speak to somebody and be able to get some help. Don't sit down there by yourself in depression, in darkness, confused, alone, and you can be able to get the help that is out there. So we're here to offer this information. It's a basic information that we are pleased and glad to be able to offer, but sit down and speak to an attorney about your specific facts. Awesome. We have given you a lot of information about all the stuff that you need to have to present your case on a marriage-based petition. And it seems like a lot. We've spoken here for over an hour, but no, it's not overwhelming. There's very many excuses. As Mr. Wanjohi said, I don't like pictures. You know that I'm a very private person. People don't know. I don't want people to know about my relationship. I don't go, my husband or my wife is not good with money, so we don't put our money together. People are full of nothing but excuses. But I tell you, there is nothing that is not able to be done if you put the work into it. We're looking for volume of evidence. This evidence can be gotten. It's the difference between you going for your interview and having an interview for 10 minutes. Your 751 is not even adjudicated. You're given a straight approval without an interview. Your citizenship is a slam dunk. Instead of sitting there on lawyer Google that said this and said that and another person and all this anxiety and confusion that is concerned. So there are resources are available out there for you. Please do take advantage of them.
Thank you so much. As we wind up, would you mention something about this authorization card I-765? Just briefly, I understand I have about 5 people who have sent questions about it. Would you mention just a little bit?
There are a lot of things which has been happening of late, and actually not of late, since Trump came in. One of the things he's been fighting is the asylum, because he's been saying that a lot of people who are genuine, they're afraid of going back to their country. That's why they apply for asylum. He's saying that they are doing it so that they can get work permit. No, nobody applies for asylum. At least we know Kenyans don't apply for asylum because they want work permit. They apply because they're afraid of going back to their country. So our president, through his Homeland Security people and all that, they've been trying to change a lot of regulations, and one of them is affecting asylum. When you apply for asylum and it's not adjudicated within 150 days, you are eligible to apply for work permit, and then within 30 days, you get your work permit. To get this work permit legally, it's a matter of discretion. So one of the things which is going to happen as from tomorrow is they are going to apply the discretion aspect. They have not been invoking it, and they are saying we shall not be approving all work permits or asylum-based work permits. There are some we shall deny as a matter of discretion. The other thing, of course, you all know that I've mentioned you can apply for work permit within 150 days. That's gonna change to 180 to 1 year. And then once you apply for work permit, you know you've been getting for the last few years during Obama time, the work permit which you get is valid for 2 years. This is changing. They want to take it back. Once you get that EAD work permit for 2 years, you can renew and you get another one for an extra 2 years, as long as your case is pending. They want also to bring this to an end that you will not be able to renew. So in a nutshell, there's onslaught on the asylum, and it's affecting work permit a lot. Those are the things we said. We have a section session where we'll be dealing with asylum. There are a lot of changes in the last few months, and some are coming as from tomorrow. Those are the ones that we'll try to discuss in more details, and that's where we can give people more information about the work permit, what's happening.
Thank you. I know this has been a big, it has been a big issue, and I know that there are so many things that are going on. And as Mueni Muli Raburu just said, it is important to seek legal advice. Just sit with an attorney somewhere. And, you know, you have been working so much. You have been, you know, spending a lot of finances. You know, spending a few dollars to get legal advice won't make you bankrupt. It won't finish your finances. You know, it is important. It is going to help you. So just knock on the door of an attorney and get advice, so that by the time you go to take the next action, then you'll be well equipped and well informed. And that one will be that one is important. before, give me 2 minutes so that I can read these two announcements or these two these comments real quick. I'm going to flash them out, and then you will just answer them next week. Tash Nisi, how about Aseli getting married and filing I-130? What is your advice? I think you heard of that next week, yeah? On Monday. The other one is, what about your marriage and... let me see this question nicely. That's Esther, pastor, asking, your marriage and you, one haven't having social security number. I guess, Esther Mwangi, we're going to look at that next week too. It will be the first question that we can handle next week because of time. What about if you don't have social security number? The other one is Anastasia. Thank you so much. This Queen Kamau sending special greetings to Charles Wanjohi. Let me laugh for the topic. Wanjohi, is he talking about my accounts? You deposit and withdraw after 2 days. Maggie Warure Pastor, good to see you. Or Mueni and Wanjohi, salams. The other one is joint account. There is the point, Queen Kamau. And then Eunice Marubo, thanks for having attorneys Charles Wanjohi and Mueni Raburu are learning a lot. Queen Kamau, thank you so much. Charles M. Getao, thank you. And Mueni, Queen says, wĩre Wanjohi nĩarutaga wĩra mwega na ndũire ndĩ mwethete na rĩa mũico ndĩmwĩrĩga nyama kĩma mena mũgwe na Wanjirũ akwao kĩamariga. Rĩu rĩ, icio nĩ cianyu personal. Those are now yours. You need to call Queen Kamau and make sure that at least you communicate, because she has been looking for you. Attorney Hello is based in Kenya. He's an attorney at the Nairobi, at the High Court of Kenya, and he is one of us. And it's nice to see you. Lois Trevor, thank you so much. I know you have learned a lot. Mwariwawa Home, thank you so much. And Mugo, thank you so much. Sarah Ndirango, that Wanjohi from Nyeri. I know his brother back in Kenya. Haya, nidikwalia. Dadora, Sarah Dirango, thank you so much. Nyams, thank you so much. I know you have learned a lot. Bedo Wairimo, I know the issue of the work permit, the work of the authorization changes have been mentioned. Nice to see you, Beth, and I know that you will learn more next week when our attorneys answer these questions. Hena mudoko uleti atirere. Now, you know, there's a lot of stigma, a lot of fear. In fact, this one was sent to me. Na oria, riu ri, tondu mwaria githungu giki giothe ri, mutiretigera. Now.
Well, Captain.
Yes.
Captain.
Yes.
Let me put it this way.
And I know I know she's listening.
Kenyans are peace-loving, God-loving people, and the Kenyans are very obedient. And the Kenyans also obey the laws of this country. This is a great opportunity to come to the United States, and the last thing we'll do is to abuse this privilege of coming into the United States. So, as you are talking here about marriage, if anyone is engaged in a fake marriage, please log out, because we don't do that. And the Captain, you know that our good people don't get into that. All we are advising people is those who are in good faith marriage. That's why we are using that good faith marriage. This is what you need to do to document your marriage. So we've been licensed by the United States. I'm licensed in the state of Washington and New York. Mueni Muli is licensed in North Carolina. She has an office just a few miles away from Donald Trump, because what we are doing is legal, and we cannot advise you to engage in any illegality. So we are not afraid of talking. I will advise you. If you call us, we hear you want to break the law, we'll tell you don't break. So we don't have to be worried over anything. We'll talk. We can even talk on CNN and say the same thing we are saying, because we know, especially if you are making reference to Kenyans, they are the best people you can ever encounter.
You can repeat that again. Thank you so much. Mueni Muli Raburu. We're just about to conclude. I don't know what you have to tell us in conclusion. I know it is already past time, 30 minutes over. Please forgive me for that. I am not very good in that, but just forgive me. Next week we'll try and be specific.
So in conclusion, all I can say is if you are interested in legalizing your status in the United States, there's no extent that you will not go to be able to get that done. So let's stop the excuses of what it is that you're afraid of. And as a community, it's very sad that fear, and especially in this new administration, there's been a lot of fear mongering. So we do not have the actual fact, but it's just a matter of what was on CNN and what the president tweeted and what my friend said happened and what is going around in WhatsApp. So let's not engage in this fear. And a lot of this fear can be dispelled in just you getting armed with the actual knowledge of what the reality is. Mm-hmm. I always say that there is no purpose in staying in this place, at a difficult, dark place, and you have the opportunity to legalize your status. So people are there and thinking nothing can be done because there's so many people who've been here so many years just like me and have not been able to legalize your status. But your facts are very different. Stick with this girl that came here at 11 years old with somebody else's passport. If she was 11 years old today, I will get her a green card in under a year. But she has sat in that place, gone through so much, in so much fear, being afraid, and nothing has been done. So let's not sit out there in darkness, afraid, not having solutions, not having plans, right? So even though you can approach an attorney today and there's no immediate solution, but what can we do to be able to get prepared? It's very sad to be called and somebody's in detention. And you call somebody in detention, nobody knows where anything is. Nobody has your information for us to do anything to be able to properly represent you. But if you had met with an attorney, your facts are before them, your documents are before them. We come up with a game plan. What if you're arrested? What do we need to do? Who are we going to call? What are the next steps to be able to take? So even though there's not a solution, you believe there's no solution because lawyer Google told you it's over, well, come up with a game plan of what to do if that unfortunate situation comes up. You're taken into immigration proceedings, and that is not the end of the world, right? Half this immigration problem is a big issue, right? We are attorneys, and it also weighs heavily on us. So I can only imagine how much more heavy it will be if you're in that specific situation. So half of it is a mental battle. Do not get defeated and believe that nothing can be able to be done. If nothing can be able to be done, listen, let's go back home. But if you're going to be here and if you're going to remain here, let's try to find a solution to it. If there's no solution right now, let's come up with a game plan for it. So the resources are available. There's a lot of information out there in this age and this time, especially in this movement when people are looking to stand up for immigrant rights. There's different ways that you can go about your situation, get empowered. The fear of people were having about people knowing about your immigration status. People on CNN right now talking about the fact that they're illegal, right? The fact that they came here and they're fighting for DACA. So I'm not asking you to go out there and tell everybody what your immigration status is, but I'm hoping you will be empowered to be able to get some help. Awesome. And your facts are not the same as your sisters, not the same as your friends. Everybody's facts are different. So approach somebody with the knowledge that you can trust, to be able to address your specific issues and find a solution to it. And at the very least, have a game plan of what needs to be done.
Thank you so much. I take this opportunity to appreciate you. Thank you so much. Charles, do you have any closing, anything that you want to say before we close?
I only want to ask, I think you called Queen Kamau Kamau.
Yes, Queen Kamau Kamau.
I've been saying that I have never stepped beyond Tomboya Street. Sasa yeye amekuja kusema aliniona Nyamakema.
Kwanza Nyamakema huko chini mkikula mutura.
Nyamakema.
Mkikula mutura.
where they go for divorce. Unajua huko ndiko anapata hii divorce. Alafu USCIS inaenda kutafuta court kwenye mahakama inakosa. So it's just to thank you for this opportunity to share the little we know with our listeners, and let's keep engaged. Let's see the much we can share, the little we know, and the much we have encountered in the process of a combined experience in immigration. We have a combined experience of over 20 years. We've been doing this thing, and we would love and appreciate that our Kenyans will be the first and most beneficiaries of the experience we have gathered in this country while going through this process. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
Thank you so much, and have a good night. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. We'll be able to proceed on with that program next week. And that is important. I hope that you have learned a lot. I am ending the broadcast of, in some of the media. One of them is the YouTube. I'm concluding the YouTube. So if you are on YouTube, bye-bye. If you're on YouTube, have a good night. God bless you. You can turn to the app, or you can come to Facebook, and that will be good. So YouTube, bye.